Hello YouTube, today we'll be working on a Nintendo Game Boy. This is known as the DMG-01 if you're looking for it on anywhere listed. But one of the first things I want to say before we get started is I did promise that I'll start working on different systems in the upcoming videos. So here we have a whole list of Game Boys, some PSPs, you have a Game Gear, a couple of Game Gears, some SPs and Advance, and as I promised, we're going to go through and try to fix a lot of these. Now, not all of them will get fixed, but we will try our best, and I will create a series. I counted them so far, so here in the box there's 46, and 47 being the one that we're going to repair today. And we have different types of issues. Now, I've kind of at a surface level tested some of these things, but we're going to go and dive in together and try to figure out what's going on. All right, so coming back to the Game Boy, I did buy this from eBay. There's a bunch of broken ones. This one they reported, and unfortunately they wrote on the screen. It's kind of frustrating to kind of clean some of that stuff, but they did report that it was a broken screen. So I think I did test it at some point. Normally I have stickers that I place, so we'll go ahead and just quickly test it out and see kind of what's going on, see if there's anything that we can do to fix it. All right, so we can kind of see what they're referring to here. As you can see, there's some lines here at the edges. These are vertical lines. They're pretty common in some of these Game Boys when they have issues. Luckily for us, there is a way to fix that. That's really nothing too crazy. So we're gonna just test the contrast. Everything seems to be working here. And the sound obviously was working. Let's see. So we do have some music going on, sorry. Now we're gonna test the buttons. Select seems to be working. Up, down seems to be working. Start button, okay, that's working. The A button's obviously working. Okay, left and right seems to be working. And B seems to be working. All right, so everything seems okay. All right, so there are gonna be a couple of things that we're gonna do. We're gonna fix those vertical lines. Is going to be pretty simple, and we're going to go ahead and add a new screen cover. So we have one here. These fit pretty well. I get this on Amazon. They actually cost me $1, so I mean that's pretty good. I buy these in bulk and they end up costing me $1, but like if you buy this by itself, and I can put a link, they probably cost maybe $5. It's not too bad. We're going to first open this up and try to fix those vertical lines, because if we can't fix that, then there's really no point in doing any of this unless we use this for another cover. So let's get this open. Let's get rid of these batteries. So for this repair, there's really not a whole lot that is required. You really just need the screen cover that I mentioned. So this one right here, you're gonna need a couple of different types of bits. So this one's gonna need a tri-wing screw bit so that you can get rid of the screws in the back, and then just like a regular size 1 Phillips screw driver and a soldering iron. And really you just need anything to a temperature of 550 degrees Fahrenheit, because we're gonna end up pretty much essentially reflowing the strip back on there. This fix isn't too bad, so we'll go ahead and go through it. All right, so now that we got everything removed, we're gonna have to be careful when we're opening it. There's a ribbon cable that's located inside, so just pull it apart gently and you can see it there. All right, so just be careful, because if you do break that ribbon cable, you're gonna have a couple of issues that may make it really difficult for this repair process, so we don't wanna do that. Once you're here, I mean, since we're gonna be working with the top side, we're just gonna simply pull this away and it comes off easily, as you can see. We just simply turn this around, and first we're gonna inspect it. It's a little dirty. You can see some of that dust. We are gonna clean that up before we put everything back, because we always clean these when we're doing a restoration. I like to think that, how would I want to receive it, right? So let's go ahead and open these, or get rid of these screws. So I'm using a size 1 Phillips screw bit. So one of the things I forgot to mention is that you're going to remove all the ones that have a circle on it, and that way it makes it easy to put everything back. So let's go ahead and finish up. All right, so once we get everything removed, we simply just have to lift this up and just be gentle with it. I sometimes lightly just push off on this side, but make sure that all the screws are off. It shouldn't be that difficult to get it off. And one of the other things to note is that this orientation of the speaker is going to matter when you're putting it back in later on. So it's kind of good not to move the wires too much, because then it makes it a little bit more painful when you're putting it back. You can see here, whoops. You can see here that there's like a little notch right there, and there is a notch that goes in here. So that's how you would line that up. Okay, so now that we have the screen, we're gonna want to remove this little rubber strip, and it's fairly easy to remove. You can just use your hands or get anything to wedge it under. So it's really not anything too crazy. It's just a little strip. So you just peel that back. So we put that to the side. And what you're gonna see here is, and actually, I kind of messed up. I should have left this connected. So we're gonna put this back. We're gonna have to leave it connected, that way we can see the lines. Because when we turn it on, we wanna see these lines as we're fixing it, right? So you can see it there. So here you can see that I have the screen, but the reason why we had to remove that rubber strip here was because we needed to get access so that we can start just applying some heat from the solder, so that we can get some good contact and revive these lines that have been, I guess, having some poor contact. So if you can see here, just by pressing, you can see like right there, it kind of comes back to life and or goes away. So you can see that right there. The next thing we're going to want to do is get our soldering iron temperature to at least 550 degrees Fahrenheit. We don't want to have it too hot, because we can run into the issue of damaging anything that's on here. So all we're really going to be doing is using the soldering iron tip to just kind of gently press on the contacts here. All right, so the first thing we're going to want to do is clean the tip of the soldering iron. So we're going to go ahead and just clean it real quick. You should have something that looks pretty clean. There shouldn't be any solder on the tip that's left over. It should just kind of look pretty bare, like right here, how it is. We're just simply gonna tap the tip of it here. It's gonna take some time. We just have to be patient. So don't worry about messing it up. Just don't stay on a spot too long. We're just gonna go over it in a little bit of circle. So that stuff that you see that's kind of coming off is just adhesive. It's really not that important. I go ahead and remove it anyway after. So if it starts melting off like how you see it right there, it's not really that big of a deal. Really the important thing is that we just get these lines working again. I don't really have any adhesive strips that I put back on. Simply just super glue the ends, but you'll see that at the end of this. So you can see here that this line is starting to come back, so we're just gonna keep going. Let me go ahead and start moving a little bit of this adhesive here. There we go. You have to just touch it for a little bit, then just let it cool. Once it cools off, it's sometimes makes some good contact, and we want to test this at the end again. Okay, so it looks like we got all of them except maybe the last one and that one pin right there. It's okay, sometimes they kind of go away again, but it doesn't really take that long. And we might want to go a little further to get those last ones here. looks pretty good. Now let's start working on the other side. If this one comes back, then we'll just simply apply a little bit more heat, but let's now start on the right side. Actually, let me go ahead and remove some of that tape there because it is bugging me. Now we have a little bit easier access to see some of that stuff there on the right side. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and remove the permanent marker that's here on the screen. So let me actually turn this off. We don't really need this anymore. Just put a little bit. So what I'm putting here is just 99% isopropyl alcohol, and it lifts that permanent marker pretty easy. It'll just take a little bit of time. On here I use a little cloth that you can use to clean glasses. It just helps making it nice and clear. All right, so now we're gonna put this strip back on here. All right, for this next piece, I'm just gonna use some super glue, and I'm gonna show you what I do here. I normally just get, could be anything. I just try to put this here, like, let me show you. I'm gonna put like a little dot. It's not even anything. There you go, like a drop. And then from that drop, I use a toothpick. And toothpick, I just collect like a little drop here. And I end up getting my strip where it had where it was applied. I'll just put it on the ends. I'll just put like a little drop there and a little drop on the other end. Now, I simply just use tweezers to be careful. Simply apply it back on there. And there we go. Okay, so while we're here, we're gonna go ahead and just clean some of these components. We're just gonna put some IPA, some of that stuff we use for cleaning the screen. Just gonna give it a quick brush, nothing too crazy. You can see that it's a little dirty. All right, for this one, when we clean the speaker, we just want to be really, really gentle. It's gonna be pretty much no pressure at all. Just gonna barely lightly tap and just go in a circle because it's really sensitive. It's a really thin layer of plastic and you don't want to puncture it. So this back part, I'm just gonna do it with a toothbrush. It might be a little quicker. So for this one, I'm not gonna actually take out the other side to do a full clean. I think it looks pretty decent. I mean, I can go ahead and inspect it from the bottom, but as far as I can tell, it doesn't look too bad. I'm just gonna go ahead and clean this with a Q-tip real quick. So let's do that. All right, so now we're gonna work on the actual screen. It's gonna be this other part. So I'm gonna move this to the side for now. And we got these pieces here that we're gonna have to clean up. So you can see these are all dirty. So we're gonna want to get rid of all this glue that you can see here. Let me go ahead and zoom in. Now this one's actually pretty tough. I'm just gonna leave it with some alcohol to sit on it for a little bit. All right, so I'm just gonna use like a flathead here to scrape some of this off. Just be sure not to be too rough with it. Just kind of go at an angle, don't dig into it. Just kind of like lightly put pressure and it should just kind of come off. You should get a feel for it and it's pretty simple. All right, so it looks like we got most of it off. It looks fairly decent. The reason why I left a lot of that residue there is because I'm gonna go ahead and just clean it up anyway. I'm gonna go get some soapy water and a brush, and we're gonna go ahead and just clean this entire housing out. That way it can look pretty close to new again. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so now that we got our soapy water, we're just gonna get a toothbrush or some other thing to just kind of clean it out. And it's not gonna be perfect. We're gonna have to go and detail it afterwards, but we'll get most of the stuff out. So we just dunk it in here, start just cleaning it. As you can see, I already cleaned this out, so I'm gonna go ahead and just replace the screen now. All right, so now let's put everything back together. It's a little tricky. You first got to put the speaker in before you put this board on. So we're going to go and just flip it real quick. There we go. So now we're going to go ahead and put all the screws back together. So let's zoom in a little bit. So you can see here, you're going to want to put them in all the holes except this one right here. It says no screw, so don't put that in there. And the last thing we're gonna do before we clean this up is we're gonna go ahead and put the screws. Now remember, don't forget to put the ones that are under the batteries. All right, so the last thing we're gonna have to do is just clean the back side. So you can see here how dirty that is compared to the front. The front looks really clean, real nice. So let's go ahead and clean up the back. I know I didn't remove it with the other housing and clean it, but I think it's still okay. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but let's go ahead and get started on this. For this, I'm just gonna use the 99% IPA. I'm just gonna go ahead and scrub it with a toothbrush and make sure that I get everything off, and it should do the trick. And the only reason I do that is that way, if I use like a lower concentrated version of the alcohol, I don't want to get into the components and possibly cause some rust or corrosion. So we're going to use 99%. And in hindsight, I think maybe the best thing was to unscrew it and not be lazy and clean it. But I guess I'm gonna have to go through with this at this point, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so everything looks really good. You can see we got all nice and cleaned up. Moved all that junk that was in the back. So the only thing I would say is that I cleaned it with the alcohol. Now I really don't recommend it doing that way because of all the fumes. It's pretty dangerous. I mean, I have the equipment. I have like a mask to prevent some of those fumes. So most people don't carry that stuff. So what I would recommend is that you actually remove the housing on both sides and then go ahead and just clean it with that soapy water. But make sure that all the electronics, like the boards and all that, that can get damaged are not, you know, cleaned in the water, of course, because if not, you're really going to damage the whole system. So I have a cap that is used from another one, just temporary, so we can see the whole thing. I mean, it looks nice, right? So let's go ahead and give it a shot and see how it looks. So look at that. We can see everything. All right, guys, so we went ahead and got this fixed and cleaned up. So we had the issue with the vertical line, and then we, of course, cleaned the entire system. I mean, like I mentioned, the back, just be careful on the way we did that, but I did show you how to do the front. Essentially, you would want to do the same for the back. Just make sure that you remove the board. This one was pretty cool. I think it came out looking really well. We replaced the entire screen and everything looks really sharp. I really like the way this turned out. And like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I have a whole lot of Gameboys and other handhelds that I need to repair. So we're gonna go ahead and do those videos in the upcoming weeks. I just kind of wanted to get you started on a different one. I know I did a lot of Nintendo 64s. So we're gonna go ahead and try to see if we can knock out as many of those as possible. If this is something that you like, be sure to hit the like button. Make sure to leave any comments below. I'll try to get back to you quick if you have any questions. And thanks for watching. See y'all later.